going on, guys? Dan here, 80 Speed Shop. 57 Chevy Black Widow time. So, we got her up on stands. This was, in case you're new here, a 4-door, which I've converted into a 2-door. It looks a lot more complete than it really is. I kind of thrashed on it for about 2 weeks, I think. And basically just kind of put a coat of paint on it to make it look presentable to the neighbors because it was sitting on the driveway. So, what we're going to work on this video is a lot of welding. I have these lower fender patches. Obviously, we need those. The inside structure looks okay, needs a little bit of work right there, but nothing too bad. We basically just zip it off, peel it out, and put it back together. Now, the issues we're going to run into, when I put the rockers on, obviously they're just kind of tack welded on. The other thing, on a proper 2-door, the rocker would stop at the door, and then that back section right where I'm pointing at would actually be all part of the quarter panel. But being a 4-door, the rocker went front to back. So we have to do a little screwing around. We have to fold the door in because it's not welded or anything. Make a little filler piece in there to join to the rocker. The dog leg is pretty beat up. You just kind of hang there. I basically just kept that for a shape. So we have to do that. Get that all figured out. Weld it all solid. And figure out down there. I think that's what I'll do on both sides. Oh, actually I did a fair bit more on the door jamb than I thought I had. So we just got to fill in this little section in here. Oh, this little section in there. I guess I should look at the camera, not what I'm doing. And we're actually not too bad. So we got to do that times 2, unfortunately. And it looks like there's just kind of one little rust hole there. We'll just cut a little piece out, weld it in. And yeah, we'll get started. So it's going to be a lot of work, a lot of welding, a lot of grinding. I'll probably do a little, talk about it as we go. I'm going to make it look nice on the outside, and we'll focus on the inside after. I don't remember what this actually looked like. If the wheel tubs, oh yeah, they're actually, wheel tubs aren't even that bad. So it probably looks like most of the rust stopped right there. The rest we can just pull the wheel and get in there and take care of it. So yeah. Let's get the camera set up on the tripod, start giving her. Might weld up these little holes while we're at it. We'll see what happens because we're not going to use any of that trim. Yeah. Man, this car's cool looking. Alright, so let's tackle this fender piece. Now, this is I'm not going to say complicated, but I'm going to kind of do it in 2 steps. So, step 1, we're going to cut all the rusty metal out. Kind of use that as a bit of template. Behind it is the structure of the fender. So structure on top to bottom, and right here is a bolt that'll, or a nut, that's whatever you want to call it, welded to the structure, which bolts it to the car. Now typically they always rust, which this one is. I find this easier to fix from the back side, and kind of have something to weld to. Obviously if you cut the bottom off and the back off, if you repair this, it's just going to be kind of in the breeze. So what I like to do is cut this piece out. I will then cut my repair panel to fit. I'll put it on. I'll weld it. I'll give it a couple of tacks underneath just to kind of hold this. Now this fender is just sitting on here. Whole front clip I think held in with like 2 bolts. And the front clip's going to come off when we do the motor and transmission. Doesn't have to, but it's just barely held on. The core support's just sitting there. There's no rad, there's no nothing. So to take the whole front clip off in one foul swoop and then slide the motor trans in is so much easier. At that point, when the motor trans is going in, this will be sitting upright and I can make just a couple of real simple repair panels in there for structure. So we're going to focus on the cosmetic. Obviously this is our new panel. Realistically, you can do whatever you want here. It's kind of real rusty up till about there. I like to use as little of the panel, repair panel as possible, as much as the actual car as you can. I've always liked doing that. I always think the metal's better. I think this lip is a lot more crisp. I don't know if it'll even show up on camera. This is a real hard line and kind of square. This panel is a lot more rounded. This doesn't look as good. So you keep that as low as you can. It kind of wins. You could actually, the lip's actually really good. You could literally just do a little tiny piece. I had these kicking around, so I'm going to use the whole thing. They're a little rotted on the back side. give it some good structure. So we're gonna cut this section off, probably kind of peel it off a little bit, cut down the side, cut down the bottom, whatever we got to do there, get it off. I'll then kind of bring it back and we'll look at what we got going on there. The only tools we're using in this whole project is going to be zip cut, grinder, I had a marker somewhere, yeah, marker, welder. Don't overthink these things. I've never been accused of overthinking it. I ain't gonna start now. Okay, so we got the piece all off. I just ran the zip cut around the back and the bottom where it's kind of spot welded on and stuff. You know, it's actually not too bad. Just needs kind of one little patch in there, like I said, and I'll get that from the back side. Down here looks fine. Really, it's not that bad. The next thing we're gonna do, take the old piece and kind of put it on top of the new piece as best we can. Again, it's a little rotten, so be a little bit of trimming, but kind of trace this out. I'll give that a quick cut. Just gotta change my zip disc, and we'll chop that out, set it up. Got our panel marked out. Just cut it real quick here on the workbench. Save this piece for later. We'll use it as a patch. So there we go. That's not bad. Line up, hangs back just a little.
That looks good.
Yeah, it's getting there. So we'll end up splitting the difference on that. Anyways, clean this up here. So, what do we got going on here? This corner stamp is a little lame. So what we're gonna do, what are we gonna do? We're gonna leave it long. I'll zip the edge off here, we'll fix that later. problem was this fold around the back, which will go around the back of the fender. I don't know if you can see how wavy that is. That's a pretty crappy stamping. So we'll get this started. Get it all welded. It won't have anything in the back. And then we'll keep this piece because it has the contour this way we want. I'll smash this on the hammer, a block of wood to flatten it out. And if I just grind what's left of the angle out of it, a little bit of material, then I can weld it back on when it's off the car. And all will be good in the world. Now, got the welder on. You guys get to listen to the jet engine go. What's going on here?
Well, who doesn't like that sound?
Yeah. Sound of progress, I think is what it's called. So I'm just literally going to hold it there. Now in these situations, I mean, you want it to be flat this way, which is pretty simple. You can do whatever you want there. Matching up the trim or the wheel arch. That's what you're going to see. And that's what you're going to lose points on at Pebble Beach if you don't have it perfect. You know me. Let's give her a few tacks. Okay, so now we got our piece on. We want to make sure we weld it so it has the proper contour. So we have our structure in the back, and it's going to hit the little clamp on the car itself, on the cowl. So we're going to pretend there's a bolt in there by clamping her tight. If I can get it in there. Here we go. So that gives it the bubble shape we're looking for. Again, our corners there are good. Our little indent there isn't bad. I might smack it with a hammer, but put a couple welds on. I got a little gappy at the back there, but you know what? I'm going to say I did that on purpose, so when I weld the two, I can weld it to the structure on the back side. That was I meant to do that. Uh-huh. Okay, so we got the piece on. Same thing when you're welding any sort of sheet metal, kind of bounce around, make sure it doesn't get too hot. So now I can let it cool right off before we grind it. Because you got to remember, if you just finish welding it and you hit it with the grinder, that's even more heat and that'll warp the shit out of it. So we got a bit of a sharp edge there, but no big deal. We'll worry about that one later. It looks 1,000 times better. Lines up with the bottom of the rocker. I'm just going to grind this smooth real quick, and then we'll get a little close-up look at it. But I'm liking it.
It looks good.
I've done this patch, I don't know how many times.
So you're a professional now?
Well, I just had these in stock. I didn't even order them for this car. Because you're just going to need them. So that's what we started off with, and that's what we got. Now, I could have just done a patch panel just on the backside, but it was pretty crunchy on the front here. You know, I mean, this is going to take all the abuse from the tires and all the junk. I want to drive this thing year round in the snow, so let's give it the best chance we can. Honestly, I think when I paint this thing, I'll probably mask the rockers, and down here I'll probably rocker guard the bottom half, just so it has a fighting chance. So there you go. That's a pretty good repair, if I do say so myself. So up next, I'm going to set up the time-lapse camera, so I'm going to have to tackle all in here, because everything's just kind of tackled all together. I'll probably plug all these holes. The rocker under the door was cut in half. Or no, I spliced in a second one, because I used a 2-door rocker and a second 2-door rocker in the back. So we get that all kind of welded up. Then, I don't know if I'm going to focus on the dog leg or if I should join the body in. I'm not really exactly sure what I want to do yet, but I'll have some time to think as I'm welding. Well, I didn't get quite as much done as I wanted to tonight, but I think it's a good place to end. We got the fender taken care of, we got all the little trim holes welded up. You know, I just kind of plugged them in there. I was kind of careful with the heat, but at the end of the day, this whole door is pretty beat and warped. And I mean, I don't know if you can see all this, but I'm going to leave all that. I mean, I think it'll patina match it to the rest. We got the rocker all stitched back together. I got in on the inside and put a lot of heat to that. I'm actually going to give it a few minutes, make sure there's no fires and stuff like that. Tomorrow night after work, I think we're going to focus on this. So we're going to have to kind of hold that in. It's got a bit of a gap, so we'll probably end up cutting a piece of steel to put in there. We'll get that welded, you know, kind of from there to there. I should have the little piece, I'm hoping, somewhere to follow the contour of the door. You may have to trim a bit of this out, just make sure the door is fitting properly, but that shouldn't be too much work. I mean, otherwise, it's all done. I actually ground it all down. That's just ready for, I mean, some final grinding and then filler work. When we get that, then I should be able to get some, rebuild this piece around there. I have the basic shape, so it shouldn't be too big of an issue. Might be a few different pieces till it kind of figures out, you know, kind of build one around and maybe skin around the backside. I'm not too sure, but really, that shouldn't be too bad. I want to focus on the outside. We'll get on the other side, do the exact same thing, get that finished up, and then after, the rockers are welded on the top side, but they're not welded on the bottom side. So that's gonna be an ugly job, and we're gonna have to get that tackled as well. But really, we're making a pile of progress. One day. That's what we're leaving for tonight. I will see you guys tomorrow. Next day. So, I just did a little bit of grinding, kind of clean everything up here as to what we're gonna work on. But it's this quarter section. So, step one, this is the little piece that would have gone in between the doors. So that's where the back door would have gone. That's where the front door would go. So we're gonna split this down the middle, essentially, and we're gonna fill this little kind of piece in. So we're just gonna give her a little eyeball cut. I'll just probably cut off this little half moon piece because this can go anywhere we want. So we'll do that, and then we'll weld it to the post, and then the rocker, and then all the way across. So that's that. On a 4-door, this it sits kind of like that. It just has a few spot welds, but on a 2-door, it's welded solid. So it'll be part of this panel. We got that going on. We do have to move this in a little bit, obviously, so it lines up with the rocker as well as the door, which means there's going to be some trimming to do. I actually probably have to trim this up a little bit. I welded a little far down to give it the proper curvature. So we'll give that a slice, move it in, and then, yeah, I guess we'll probably have to put a slice in this to fold it in, or who knows what we're going to do. We got that to do, so I want to get that going. That way the quarter panel patch, we'll call it that, will be in the right spot. Once you do that, I want to focus on this piece. So this piece still has, you know, it's actually not that bad. I mean, it's horrible, but it still has the shape, and actually the wheel arch part isn't too bad. It's just this one little section. It's really wore out. So what I'm thinking, we have a piece of rocker left over. Now this is brand new, but you could have saved the section if you're like these rockers were, I think, non-exist on this car, but if you had a piece you could reuse it, and just kind of put it back. So I think what we'll do is we'll splice that in there to wherever we think. I'll cut just the edge off of this, put that on, which will give us the shape. And this, it has a bit of a curve. It goes in, like it goes flat, then it goes in and back out. But I'll draw this with my finger. But this section here will be new rocker, basically taken care of, with this on the back of it. So that'll be good. All we're going to focus on is basically from my hand up, this little section. So once we get that, we'll get it all kind of cut out, and then we'll just basically cut a piece out, have it kind of a bit of a curve, tack it in. We'll have to run a strip probably along the wheel well to build that. And I mean, it won't be perfect, but filler fixes all, as I've learned. So we'll do that. And this is, and then, oh yes, once we get that, then we'll have to build a little piece in here. We always end up with a gap because obviously being a 4-door, it has to have a gap so the door opens and closes, so it doesn't fit very tight. That's just the way it goes. So we'll build a little piece in there, and this weld top and bottom. I've used kind of welding rod or coat hanger to fill it. That's a bit of a gap on this car. And we got just a little piece there, and I think this side is done for metal work, outside wise anyways. We do have to work on the underside of the rockers and then the inner structure and floor, but I think that'll be next video. The other side, I was actually looking at it because I was looking for parts. Turns out I welded a bunch on. It's quite a bit further along. The door is full welded the whole way. I've already got that fixed in. Looks like I made a piece there already, which is in there, so that's ready for filler work. All I gotta do is fill in the holes for the rear handle, and we gotta do the front section. I think everything else on the lower quarter is basically done. Yeah, like I already got this piece welded in. That's kind of what it's gonna look like. Yeah, it looks like I split this up here and folded it in, which I'll do again on the other side. Everything looks welded, so this side's basically ready for filler. That door fits good considering I chopped it out of something else and made it all work, but yeah. So we'll get that dialed. We should be able to knock it out tonight, I'm thinking. Okay, so unfortunately, this is probably the best spot for the camera to be, but I do have to open and close the door a bazillion times to make it kind of fit. So the door is sunk in a little bit, as you can clearly see. There is no weather strip on this door, and that will cause it to kind of pull out, as well as we can adjust the door with the striker. So we want to kind of maintain the lip. Now down here it's a little thicker than it is up top off camera, so we're just going to kind of eyeball that. So the plan's going to be, I'll zip this up just a little bit, then I got to open the door and again cut it on the inside, almost cut like a maybe like a wedge shape out of it. So the bottom, like down here, will go in further than up there. After we get that taken care of, I don't know where I put my this little piece. But we'll probably trim this out, have the other piece fit in there at the same angle, and it'll just kind of work out. We really just want this kind of lined up close to the bottom of the rocker. So once we get that, this front piece will hold it, and I might stack a bunch of tack welds or something like that in the meantime just to hold it. Then we can zip that out. That's all to the back. It's just a glob of weld holding it all together. So that is the plan. So I'll move you over and we'll start giving her. Let's make some cuts. Okay, so now we have our bit of a wedge shape at the bottom. You can knock it over. Close her up. Now this piece, we'll have to wedge out a little. Close that'll fit. That fits the rocker in line pretty good, so we'll just close the door. That's not bad. Okay, we got the welder hooked up. So a few tack welds, hold everything together. Hammer handle. It's a good pusher. Okay, so that's perfect. You know the door's going to fit. Now the next thing I'm going to do, there's two sides to this. This is how it fits on the car. I'm going to slice it right down the center, keep as much meat as I can to use. So we're left with, am I doing this right? That is gonna fit like that. This is too wide because we have the jamb in there, which before we didn't, or the pillar I should say. So we're maybe an 1/8 out, so we'll trim that. Okay, so here's what we got working on, or going on. That was a bunch of weird words. We got the piece in. Just a couple tacks. Obviously I'll have to fill that all in there, across there, and across the bottom to fill the seam in. We'll weld up my cut that I did. And then right in here, this is the cut I did, which again, I shaped it pie-shaped, thick on the bottom, and nothing up top, and I just pushed her in. So that works out just fine. The only thing we're going to run into, so the door fits nice here, and here, we're just a little bit of a gap. So probably from about here to where this goes, well, I'm just welding on a piece of welding wire, and then we'll kind of put a little bit of filler on there. It'll have a nice curve, no one will ever know. Yeah, that's just kind of the way it went, I guess. The way this panel was or something, but hey, there's no real rules here. So I'm going to weld this all up completely, get it all ground down, so we have the strength in that, and then we'll start on the backside. Okay, we got the front section done. So let's see if we can get this piece out. So you see the way this actually is. This piece goes over top of the rocker. And this piece is a little beat. It does wrap around the bottom. So I think what we'll probably do is kind of slice that. Maybe we'll leave it together as long as we can to kind of get an idea as to what this is going to be. Otherwise, really not too big of a deal. Cut a section of that out. Probably go just kind of past the door-ish, or even just kind of put it on and see where we end up, and I can also trim it to fit. I'll probably cut out a lot of this up here, because that's not going to fit in there, because that's where the rocker would have ended. Let's give it a tack weld on and see where we end up. Now the inside piece we should actually be able to weld right to the floor. That's what we're butted up against. So we've got that. Already looks pretty good, eh? What should we do there? We'll trim out this bottom bit, just so it's easy to cut on the car. We'll slash cut it for style. So essentially, that's what this piece kind of goes in and curves in. We're close to it. Close enough. So, clean this piece up a little bit, iron that down, we'll see if we can get her fit up. So now we have to kind of make it do this somehow. I think we'll just zip this off. So basically, if we kind of use that as a bit of a guide so the wheel well follows, we'll just trace this with a marker, get it cut out, and I could literally just use the edge of this. That's still good metal. Well, good-ish. We'll flatten it out. I'll get a marker, I'll get this cut out, I'll be right back. So there we go, it all kind of figured out. I used the last little edge of this. I probably could have just made something, but it gave it the shape I wanted. So that's pretty good. It kind of curves out, so this does need a little bit of a kind of curve in it. So I think I'll just kind of hammer that in a little, and it'll give her the shape. You know, heat it up, maybe get it, you know, nice and orange. Be good. Same with actually up here. I was thinking if we just kind of build that piece and then heat it up and just kind of whack it in, it'll give it that nice gentle curve. This one I can actually make. This is boxed, but otherwise, I think I'll just kind of trim this piece off. So we'll be working with that much. We'll fold this back in. So it's got a nice wheel well to it. Make a little patch panel. You gotta make a little sliver in there. We're done on this side. So I was bouncing around, working on this panel. I thought to myself, man, it'd be nice if I had something that was that shape. And I was halfway done making a panel, which I was filming. And I was like, oh, this is what I need right here. The leftover from the front fender has kind of the same-ish shape. So I grafted her in there. Right here we have a problem. It doesn't quite match, so we'll have to fill it with a little bit of weld or whatever and give it the shape. Otherwise, that's good enough for me. Like I said, I'll build up with a little weld and reshape the edge. The real actually issue was this was kind of rotten where I joined it. I probably should have patched it up into there, but that was more of a curve, and I thought I'd do in a flatter spot, and I was probably wrong. Well, that in solid. This here I actually just ended up using some filler rod and got that all dialed together. So now we're just gonna work on this little gap right there. So we have a quick measure in the front and the back, and give a little kind of a wedge shape, because it actually does slide backwards for some reason. I feel with my finger, it fits in easy there, and that's as far as I can get. So I'll just weld the whole way around, grind it. I mean, it's rough metal work, but it's metal work, and it's ready for filler. I'm pretty happy that it has a little indent in it. Turned out pretty good. It looks a little goopy on camera, but we'll be able to fix that up with some filler. So I'm going to grab a piece of steel from the storage. So I think I have one that has a straight edge. If you have a straight edge on one side, then all you gotta just curve to one side, and it'll be less cutting and perfect fit. Okay, I figured I'd just show you this patch here, because I think what I'm going to do is time-lapse the rest, grind, weld, have a little supper break while the camera and all the tools charge up, and then come back out and start on the other side. But I got this, look at this perfectly fit panel. That's unbelievable, right? Dan's so smart, he must be able to measure once and cut twice, all those things. But here's what I really did. Just had a piece of scrap, and it had a straight edge on it. So I cut it to the width I wanted, just eyeballed it. Then I kind of just put it in, and then marked one side, marked the other side, where the opening was, put a square on it. That gave me my perfectly angled line. Now, the reason that worked, we know that's straight. I know the door is straight. It's just the angle in between, for whatever reason, isn't straight. So, give that a little knock with the hammer, but brrr, weld that in. Toss a little weld up in there. Man, I really like the old pointer sticks. Oh, wash the paint. But we'll get that burned in. We'll get her ground down. And yeah, supper time. Then we'll work on the other side. So there we have it. Metal work done-ish. We're gonna pop on the other side real quick. I'll get set up there. It should be quick though. It's already getting kind of late. It's about 9 o'clock, so hopefully I should be able to knock this out in a couple hours. I'm thinking. Maybe even less. We just have the lower, the lower fender and then 2 little holes here. No big deal at all. We can start on. I'll drag the weld over and well, we'll start welding. Hi there. So we're on the other side. This fender. Honestly, this one is not bad. I can feel on the backside that the structure of it is still in really good shape, and all it has is just one kind of little patch, which you probably just could cut out and weld in. It's a little, kind of crusty, stuff like that, which you can sand down and treat and then coat and all that. But I have this panel, had it for a while. I'm doing 2 57 Chevys. I kind of feel like, I shouldn't even say so loud because it'll probably jinx me, but I probably don't want to do another 57 Chevy for a little bit at least. So this is just going to end up sitting around, and I'm hardened equipment, so it's not like it's going to get in any better shape. This was brand new at one point. And it's my car that I want to keep, so I kind of feel like you put the proper panel on while you have it, drop it across there like I did, and install it, and then it'll last for years and years to come. And like I said, I've probably said it 85 times, I want to drive this thing as if it's a regular car. Like, it's just going to be a car as far as I'm concerned. Fuel injected, turbo 400, change rear end, and then electric wipers. Man, another thing I ordered today actually. I've got back into eBay. I was on some forums, and I found a set of tubular control arms, Chinese. Obviously, they're not like I don't know, CPP or QA1 or any of those like legit names. But it was cheaper to buy tubular control arms, uppers and lowers, than it was to buy the parts to rebuild the factory stuff. I can't believe that. And the same company, now who knows, getting this stuff, they had electric wipers. This one has an electric wiper motor, which I thought was like a big deal. They have an electric wiper kit for $199, and it's like all done, put it together. And then they also had electric power windows. Same thing, I think it was $249 for 2 doors. All I gotta do is run 12 volts to it, and then like whatever the motor is, it bolts up to the factory mounts and stuff. Like, what a time to be alive. So, I don't know, I think I might order a few more of those things. I just got the control arms. Unfortunately, they're a month away, so it would be faster to rebuild these ones, but I think we'll wait. And I ordered disc brakes. Well, of course, sorry about life, everything's on back order, so I'm waiting on the disc brakes. So I think we'll do the whole front end at once, and that can happen down the road at any time. But anyways, I'm babbling. Let's do some laps. If you are at somehow at this point in the video and don't know what I'm doing, go back to the beginning of the video and you'll see exactly how it went. So this patch it's slightly different. We cut it across the top just like on the other side. But again, the problem with this patch panel is it was too long on the other side. So I have to weld a backing piece on. Well, it's in good shape on this side. So I cut it down and left that piece. And then obviously did the same on the panel. And at the bottom, I cut it off as well because it was still, it's nice plug welded and all that, the factory material to the structure, and that's all good. So instead I welded basically center section, across the top, down on the back, and then when I was doing the back, not only was I welding to the strip that is welded, I was welding it right to the structure. I was welding it right to the structure as well the whole way down, and then same thing across the bottom. So I managed to tag in all of it, so that is a good repair. I'm just going to fill in these holes real quick with the welder. So we'll do that, just kind of work my way around, and then grind those down flush, and then we'll tackle the rear door handle. I'll get a little play-by-play on that. This will just be time-lapse because this is pretty easy. That'll be, like I said, a little play-by-play how to do it. And then we're done for the night. Which is good because I'm tired. Okay, so we got everything almost done. We're just going to fill this little lock hole in. So these I'll just kind of weld around and then grind off. This I like to put a little piece on, so I just got a piece of scrap. And it's got just a kind of a bit of a bend to it, not much. But before you chop the piece down, you kind of make just a little bit of a bend, which I think will be pretty good. Oh, that's the little piece we're going to work with because it has a bend on it. And we'll trace it out. So I'll cut this out real quick. Be ready for the next step. So now we have our piece. It's very easy on this because there's no door panel whatsoever. You just want to make sure you have the curve with the crown or the right way. If you put it sideways, it'll be goofy, but get in there so it's close-ish. That's what we're going for. Now you can, cut this out with a set of snips. I found when you're running snips, it really kind of twists the metal up. So I'm going to give it some kind of crude cuts with the zip disc, and then just kind of smooth it with a flap wheel on the grinder. I find that always works the best. Okay, we got our piece. Now, what I want to do here is Hopefully this will work. So we have it car grounded. What I want to do, hold that on. Perfect. So we have our piece, and I just made like a little holder. So when you get it in there, you kind of just put it in where you want. Because if you're trying to hold it and stuff, it's just a real pain. So we got that. Oh, that's embarrassing. As I said, you want to weld on your little tab here. And you don't want it coming off. Then it falls down the car. That's a pain. Okay, we should be good. So, hold it where you want it. Whew, well, that's been a fair bit of work over 2 days. I think we got a lot done. So, lower fender, door done. So this is all dialed together. That looks pretty good. Good enough for filler anyways. All down there was already taken care of, so there's no worries. There's still probably lots of pinholes to be welded up and grinding and stuff before we mud it all up, but whatever. This side was a lot of work. Still got to finish that fender, but we'll do that when it's off the car. Rocker's done. That whole section's done. That turned out pretty good, I gotta say. Oh, forgot this little piece. You know what? I'll do that on my own. I think we're done for tonight. Next step, pull the seats out. We gotta finish welding the floors in, because I think there's kind of tacked in. I gotta do some, I think I've had some wheel well repair to do to join it to the back of the floor where it kind of curves around, so we gotta get that taken care of. Otherwise, the floors are done side, both sides up to the door jammed. The front looks like it's done for the most part. Maybe a little bit I gotta do. And if I did across the back, it's just tacked in there. I'll have to pull the seats. I don't remember what I did. Seats out, but I think that's the next step. We'll get the floor welded in proper. We'll get the structure put in the doors on the inside. Get that taken care of, because that's an ugly job. And yeah, I'd like to get this thing kind of together, maybe start doing the body work, because the little bits, I'm not going to do a whole lot to it. I know everyone wants me to probably paint something, but this one, I love the way this one looks with the kind of worn out patina paint job. I think it'll look fantastic. So we're just going to do the bottoms of the fenders, the door, and this section here is as little as possible to kind of call her a day. But that's what we're doing. That's where I'm ending it. Thank you very much for watching. If you made it this far, I did a lot of work with no radio on. That deserves a thumbs up. Maybe a like or a comment or a subscribe or tell a friend and all those things. I'll see you tomorrow or the next video, whatever that is.